So I guess the BIA has spoken to a lot of news outlets, spoken sometimes they say on behalf of downtown businesses. I wanted to hear from you. As a business owner, how have you seen the conversation around SCS site develop over time?
Interesting. I think they're trying to say two things at once, but what they're actually doing is they're an obstacle to a safe consumption site where it's needed, which is right downtown. They're just like doing another study. They're just, want a better site. They want to take some time, think about it, make a really good decision. And meanwhile, I don't know how many overdoses there have been in downtown Barrie, but it just gets worse and worse and worse down there.
I saw screenshots of a recent survey they sent out to business owners saying that they claim to be like the voice of the downtown. They want to make sure the downtown businesses' voices are reflective. It sounds like you're saying you don't see that as being the case.
No, it's not at all. It isn't at all. And I did speak to, I heard, whatever. I heard things earlier that they were spending a lot of money on a PR firm to spin this whatever against a safe consumption site. And I immediately phoned Kelly McKenna and said, hey, what the hell? What is this? And she was like, oh, no. It's not really about an anti-safe consumption site. We're just trying to give the voice of the downtown business owners, people, whatever, a voice. And I was like, oh, okay, because I'm for a safe consumption site. And we backed and forth. I don't know, whatever. I'm not that kind of person. I don't get what they do. All I know is that no matter how many businesses go down, no matter how many people go out of business during this time, those people at the BIA will have their money, will have their properties intact.
Because what you said earlier is that I think I don't have the exact wording, but they say protecting downtown, making sure it's, I think, quote, they said, let's like making sure it's one of the safest places in Canada or something like that. It doesn't seem like you see that as a reality.
No,
it doesn't seem like you think that they're seeing the reality.
If you're overdosing and dying in a storefront and sleeping on the street in a Barrie winter, how do you define that as safe? And then you're choosing who your citizens are. And I guess I just don't have the same definition as her, as who is a downtowner. Like, those people are downtowners. They're our neighbors. They belong here. And the thing about that survey that they sent out was that you couldn't not agree with it. They were purporting to speak for me, but when I went to sort of say, hey, wait a second, I don't believe it. There are 3 opportunities. Click here, to make your voice heard. Well, I guess I'm not considered important enough to listen to either.
I want to read you something. So I couldn't access the BIA for an interview. They did provide an emailed statement. They said, quote, our current efforts are focused on ensuring all BIA members are informed, engaged, and consulted on this issue. I wanted to ask you, have they had any messaging or any way of connecting you with the medical scientific advice from the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit? Anything like that?
I said, no, they sent me the same thing. They sent me, I wrote an email to Kelly when I got the survey, and I basically said, this isn't my voice. Aren't you interested to know what I think? And she said that if I had a problem with it, or it wasn't aligned with my whatever, that, I could wait till 2022 and vote in somebody else. That was the number one suggestion. And then to go, she had a link to another, I don't know whether, is it Engage Barrie? I'm not quite sure which one. Bohemia has we support the safe consumption site. We've got one of those little posters in our window, and it was the same site. But no, and she said, then you should be happy to talk to me anytime. But I really don't know whether that's, I don't know. I'm tired of it. It's just, something has to happen.
They haven't actually provided any sort of scientific or health fact-based research into the discussion.
Well, okay, so the health-based things, I'm not a scientist. And that's the other thing that I really object to in this particular dialogue. I don't like being put on the spot because I don't have a million facts. What I like is that the Simcoe Muskoka Health Unit has said, no, this is where it has to be. And to me, it's like, I'm going to believe those guys before I believe a person who may or may not live in Barrie, who may or may not know anything. Like I don't want to get into a conversation about science. And I don't think that that is the role of the BIA.
The website where your Bohemia is represented, the Voices of Downtown Barrie, it's a site which does connect people to scientific evidence and research as well. What's been your involvement with that site?
Right? It's reasonable. But I don't feel like, honestly, really, the science is settled. We all know this. But people keep bringing up things like, oh, well, you know, in this place or in this study, it's like, well, to me, it seems like, you know, we're beyond that. And also the thing is, okay, so if there is another kind of disaster in Barrie, like, I don't know, a flood or a hurricane, we respond to the flood or the hurricane or the disaster. We're not, you know, we're not like everyone who gets COVID is being taken care of. No questions. Even if they're assholes, they get taken care of. Even if they've done something to bring it on themselves.
The BIA has said that they're worried about business owners, but in this whole conversation, you haven't mentioned, as a business owner, being worried about an SCS site downtown.
I live on Toronto Street. I live right across the street from when we first bought our house. Youth Haven was right across the street. and you know, like there was some hurting kids there who did like crazy, impulsive, crazy things, you know, but the police were always around. They had counselors. They were well taken care of. The focus was on keeping those kids safe. I'm all for it. That's great. I think it's really unsafe when everything is just everywhere, where there's no supervision, where people have no place to safely use. So they just use everywhere. It should be, in my humble opinion, wherever the hotspot is, no question, that's where it has to be. Absolutely. And I think that's the other thing too. It's like, just take that out, the moralizing thing, just take it right out. Because that's not what we're talking about right now. You know, that doesn't mean that I condone drugs or not, or like I don't, whatever. I don't think that's the conversation that we need to have. And I feel like every time we have this conversation, it's like having an argument with a bad boyfriend, you know, like, suddenly you're talking about something that you don't even want to talk about. It's like, I don't care what you think about drugs. I don't give a shit. Like, there's stuff happening on the street in downtown Barrie that needs to be addressed. And while people have these moralizing conversations, another person dies.